Good evening. Welcome to tonight's event. My name is Matthew Seminoff, and I'm a professor of classics and an associate dean for the College of Humanities and Sciences. H&S is the foundation of the University of Montana. Not only is it the largest college of the university with the greatest number of undergraduate majors, but it provides foundational coursework for many of the majors in the College of Business, the Franke College of Forestry and Conservation, and the College of Health. But it also provides the greatest array of general education classes for all undergraduate students at the University of Montana. We like to think of ourselves as the heart and soul of the University of Montana. This college is the liberal arts core of the University of Montana, but many people have a hard time defining what the liberal arts are and what the liberal in that phrase really means. As a classicist, it's one of those things that I have to point out whenever I'm given the opportunity. It has nothing to do with political perspectives. Liberal in this context derives from the same Latin word as our word liberty. It comes from liber, meaning free. The liberal arts are the freeing arts. That is, they are the courses of study that release us from what holds us back, politically, economically, and creatively. So I invite you all to embark on the path of those pursuits that will set you free. Thank you for joining us tonight. And it's now my pleasure to just sort of go over what our plans are for this event. Tonight we'll hear from two professors and students who work closely with them on their research and collaborations. We'll have the opportunity to hear from two academic advisors who will help you make your decisions about courses and how to progress through the University of Montana. And we'll also have the opportunity to hear from student ambassadors who could give us a little bit of perspective of what it's like to be a student within the College of Humanities and Sciences. So it's now my pleasure to introduce Jesse Johnson, the chairperson of computer science, Fred Peck, a professor in mathematical sciences, Adam Verre, a student majoring in computer science, mathematical sciences, and physics, as well as Andy Wainwright, a major in computer science and a major in mathematical sciences and a minor in computer science. So thank you very much and enjoy the conversation.
Right. Thank you very much, Matt. Well, welcome everybody. It's great to see you all. My name is Fred. I'm a professor here in the math department. And I wanted to start us off by thinking about two interesting puzzles that turn out to be related. So the first puzzle is this. I'm going to just go ahead and share my screen here. The first puzzle is, let's imagine that you want to connect these four towns with a road. So you want to do it so that all four towns you could get from no town is an island, no town is isolated. You just want to connect these four towns, but you want to do it on the cheap, so you don't want to build too much road. In other words, you want to minimize the amount of road that you're building. So, so that's one puzzle, right? And we might think, well, maybe the best way to do this is to build a square, right? But there's actually a shorter way to do it. It's that, just build an X. And it turns out there's actually a shorter way even. You could connect these four towns using less road even than when you build an X. And it may seem surprising, but actually the shape looks more like that. It's this wild looking shape. This is the shape that minimizes the amount of roads that connects these four towns. And so our first puzzle is like, why is it that shape? How could we ever find that shape? And the second puzzle is this. You might know that when you blow a bubble, they always have this very familiar shape. You blow a bubble and it always expands out and it looks like a sphere. So the second puzzle is, why do bubbles make a sphere? Why do they always look like a sphere? So it turns out those two puzzles are related, and we're gonna, hopefully, I'm looking forward to talking to you all about those two puzzles, but to give you a sense of why we think those two puzzles are related, I wanna blow a bubble really quick. So I'm gonna take my camera over here. Let's see if I can move it, yeah, all right. And let's see, there, oh, look at that bucket, yeah. All right, so I'm gonna take this guy. This is a wireframe of a cube. And I'm going to dunk it in this bubble solution right here.
Fred, I'm so excited to see this, but I still just see the 4 towns and the roads.
Oh, shoot, sorry. Thank you. Let me stop sharing. Okay, awesome.
Oh, yes.
Thanks, Jesse.
So
okay,
exciting.
That's better.
Look at this bucket.
All right, so here I have this wireframe of a cube, and I'm going to dunk it in this bubble solution. And before I do that, I just want you to think to yourself, like, what do you think is going to happen when I dunk this cube into this bubble solution? So just have a picture in your mind of what's going to happen. And here we go. Dunk it in the bubble solution. And let's see, I'll bring it out. And let's see if we can see what it looks like there. Yeah.
Well, that's awful pretty, and that's kind of a familiar shape.
Is that a wild shape or what? Can you see the? So anyway, these two puzzles, it turns out, are connected. Why do bubbles form the particular way they form, and how do we make the shortest path between 4 towns? Turns out to be a connected problem. So I'm hoping we can talk more about what connects those 2 problems. So I'm gonna sit back now and let some other people talk, but hopefully I've presented some interesting puzzles that we can explore together.
Fred, this whole thing just seems contrived because you love this problem. I love this problem, but we didn't really coordinate it this way. So I'm curious, how did you get interested in the soap film problem?
I got interested in the soap film problem for the reason why I get interested in basically all math problems, which is that it is beautiful and puzzling and unexpected and perplexing. So I just wanted to, it's a perplexing thing. Like, why does it form that way? And how is it related to the sphere that most bubbles form? And how is that related to the town problem? The relationships are beautiful and perplexing, and that's what makes me interested.
I couldn't agree more. And so we've got the beauty part, and that's the title of our talk, right? Find beauty and master the universe. And so I think I'm going to sort of shift from what you talked about and attempt to master the universe. I'm going to maybe try by sharing a screen. Let's see if I get anywhere. And so I love old pictures and science. And so I was digging through some old assignments I had.
Whoa.
I found this. And can you see this, Fred?
Yeah.
So I love this. This guy's name is Richard Courant. And this is the 40s, late 40s. And he came to the United States from Germany. And here he is at this is at NYU, the Courant Institute, in fact, it's called now. And here's like Fred's predecessor, basically, doing exactly the same thing we just did. And here it is. And I love this problem too. And my love for it comes from maybe the idea that there are certain things in this universe that when you minimize them, produce really curious results. And so Fred was alluding to this when he talked, but what you're really doing is minimizing the energy of the surface to get the right configuration that you see here. And I loved when Fred put that down in the water, and then it didn't work, and he shook it and shaking it is
it did work.
My computer algorithm. So I'm a computer science professor, and I've done this problem by formulating the mathematics, which I'm not going to try to explain or bore you with, but this is the level I'm working at. And my main game is probably how I can put the mathematics into a computer and solve this. So I want to show you that now. And I'm going to share my screen again. And so let's see if I can find the right.
A quick aside, does it
Yeah,
always
Adam,
make that shape no matter what size the square is or cube?
I think you're going to come up with something very closely resembling that, irrespective of the aspect ratio of the, I guess it would be called a parallel pipette once you move away from a cube. And I think yes is maybe, does that answer your question, Adam?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And so let me ask you this. Can you see a gray screen? Did I share? Okay,
Yeah,
good. All
yeah,
right,
cool.
so I'm
I can't wait to
excited
see what it's going to be.
because I'm going to show you my attempt to do a similar thing to what Fred did, but mine's a little different in the sense that I'm just going to take a wire and bend it. It's not the frame of a cube; it's a circle, but I'm going to bend one side and the other, and when I do that, I get this, which lo and behold, folks, I have invented the Pringle. And I'm so proud of this. Exactly the same mathematics applies. I never had to get a soap solution or anything. My hands are very clean, and I didn't have to do anything in the lab. And the way I did it was to describe this entity with a mesh. And some of you that play video games may have seen these before, right? You use these meshes to describe the surface of objects. And I solved these equations on a mesh. The virtue of doing it in this way is that instead of having to create another a wireframe like Fred would have to, I can just change the equation and I get, well, this is more fun in 3D. Is this going to work? No. Let me go 2D, 3D. Oh, I see. Sorry. I want to look at this. Oh, if I change the equation, I get Pringle Mark II. This is going to be the new generation of super high tech Pringles, and all I had to do was change the equation describing the edge, and so I continue to do things similar to what Fred has done, but with the flexibility of a computer program instead of this. But I share Fred's love of this problem. It's a beautiful, beautiful problem. Now, a word about Master of the Universe. I do research on the dynamics of ice flow. I'm interested in sea level rise, and I'm interested in how places like Greenland and Antarctica can contribute to the level of the seas. And it turns out that the mathematics for this is not so different from the mathematics we use to describe the flow of ice. And so I'll get rid of that, and I'll put up this. And I think this one actually looks a lot better in 2D than 3D. So there you are. That's the Greenland ice sheet, and it is being described by an energy minimization process quite analogous to the energy minimization process that was used for the soap bubble problem. And so that's my relation to the problem that Fred said. And I think it's terrific that here in the College of Humanities and Science at the University of Montana, we have all kinds of wonderful and curious people solving problems. And you often have this overlap between the problems we solve. And that's part of the fun of being here. And I think Adam is going to speak a little bit about his experiences as a student that I hope will show that there's this continuity from Fred to Jesse to Adam and beyond that unites us all in solving these problems. So Adam, tell us about
Yeah.
what you.
Well, I mean, you heard earlier from Matt that I'm a computer science, mathematical science major, as well as a physics major. So I've got a variety of fields. Oh, and I'm a geoscience minor. So I've got my fingers in a bunch of different pies here at the university. And I think this semester, the classes I'm taking this semester provide a great example for like how everything connects and overlaps, even across different departments. The content that I study in Jesse's class, simulation, has helped me get a little bit ahead earlier on in my computational physics class, and then vice versa. The stuff that I learned earlier in computational physics is helping me on a project now in Jesse's class, simulation. There's a lot of overlap. If you plan things out right, especially, you can get a lot of good content at the same time. So we've been looking at this minimization problem, but everything's not always about finding the minimum or even the maximum. Sometimes you want to find a threshold, right? a boundary per se between different situations. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and bring up this percolation visualizer. I made this project for Computer Science 232, Data Structures and Algorithms, very important class. You'll end up learning a lot of data structures, really, which are, just different ways to interpret, manipulate, control data. So this controls percolation. So let's say we've got a grid of soil, and you want to know if the water at the top of the soil will make it to the bottom of the soil. And we're going to find out by poking a bunch of holes in this full block. So I've passed in, it's a list of points to open. This is a specific sample input, and it's opening these points one by one. And if it's connected to the top through any sort of adjacency, it fills up with water. And you can see that with these little blue dots. Oh, and there we've got a little bit more. And as it goes on and on and on, we'll see that it fills more and more and more. But the purpose of this project was to find out if we randomly open sites, right? I pick a random point and open it. And I do this again and again and again and again and again until it percolates. On average, how many sites or what percentage of sites do I need to open for it to percolate? And this is where we find our critical threshold. So optimization is not entirely about finding minima or maxima.
So Adam, you're asking how many holes do you have to poke in this image before the water can go from the top to the bottom? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Sure, we do want to find the number, but we don't want just the number of holes you have to open, but the relation between the number of holes you have to open and the number of sites that there are overall. So a percentage.
Whoa. What's the percentage? Tell me the answer.
Oh, I'll tell you the answer? Well, maybe you should take the class and find out for yourself.
Wait, I thought you said these were random points.
Oh, no, this one's a sample input. This is not randomized. You can see there, all of a sudden, one site over here connected and boom, straight to the bottom, right? But that's just one example. You want to know the answer? Okay, I'll show you the answer. That's the answer right there. 68.7235%, with standard deviation of about 10%.
Oh, wow. That's super interesting, though, this idea of a threshold. So in other words, it's kind of like nothing was happening, and then all of a sudden, a lot of stuff happened. Is that the idea of a threshold? Like, yeah, that actually seems like it's related to the Greenland ice problem, because what I've heard about what might be scary about ice melt is that it kind of happens in the same way. That might be really, really slow, really, really slow, and then like we'll hit a particular threshold, and then all of a sudden, things could go.
We're in trouble then.
Yeah.
Once we exceed that threshold, we're committed to a certain amount of sea level rise that we can't pull back from.
Well, anyway, sorry, Andy, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just that picture reminded me. So go ahead. Sorry about that.
Good point. I guess what came up for me was more towards the beginning. The basis of these kind of problems is a math problem called the traveling salesman problem, where you have like certain places you need to get to in a day to sell things in this case, and you want to find the best, cheapest way to get to all of them. And we learned about that in, I think, optimization class I took with Mark Kyle last year, and a few of us were hanging out afterwards, and we'd already been planning a road trip for a little while to hit a bunch of stuff in Montana. So we kind of tried to apply, and it worked pretty well, a way to get like from Glacier, and then we wanted to go to the Bitterroot Valley or Flathead or a hot springs or something. And there were a couple times we had to swing back and pick different people up in different places. And I wish I still had the drawing. I would have made a great visual, but it basically gave us this big web of the best way to get to all these different places and pick everyone up and drop people off without using too much gas money. So the cost was low per person. And it's kind of a less academic application, but it was really fun and it worked out pretty well. And we got to see a bunch of really cool stuff.
Tell us about your road trip, Andy. That's super cool. Like, what was your favorite part of Montana?
Favorite part? We spent 2 nights in Glacier, and that was really gorgeous camping. And we hit it during spring break a couple years ago.
Uh-huh.
It was quiet enough. I guess the big groups hadn't come in yet, so you kind of, when you live around here, you get to see all the quieter stuff without the tourism. But we also hit, there's a bunch of hot springs really close that we could kind of get to along the edge.
Mm-hmm.
And then camped at Flathead Lake during the week, so we got a pretty good campsite right on the big lake. It was gorgeous, and yeah, it was really fun.
Did you say you had to pick someone up in Havre?
We had to, I think it was out, my geography's not great, but it was a little ways outside. It was a tiny little town. One of my friends had to see her parents for some reason for some weekends. We were able to just swing by and then drop her off on our way. It was pretty fun. It was really
I love rural Montana. I love going on road trips too. And I have a soft spot in my heart for Havre, which is a city of about 12,000, all the way north in Montana, north central, near the Canadian border. And there's nothing much there but wheat, which reminds me of my home, which is South Dakota, where you swap the wheat for corn, and you'll understand where I'm from. But
I actually heard, Jesse, every time I talk about Havre, which I do a lot because I love that place too, people say, I don't know if you all have heard this, but people say it has the best Taco John's in Montana. You heard that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's a mighty tall claim. Maybe
they tell me all the time. That's like a standard thing I hear when I talk about Havre.
I guess the next road trip is you have to hit all the Taco Johns and then figure out which one.
Well, you got to go to Wyoming too, then.
Yeah, bigger road trip would be fun.
Andy,
how about you, Adam? Have you been able to get out and explore Montana? And if so, do you have a favorite small town or place that you like to go to?
Well, funny you should ask. I actually went to high school down in Hamilton. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, but I moved out here as a teen, and I mean, that's the whole reason I'm here now, right? I fell in love with the Bitterroots. Absolutely. Nothing like it. Nothing like living down there, feeling the wind down the valley. You know, it's just, that's the whole reason I'm here. But, you know, I moved around a little. I moved back into town and decided, yeah, okay, I'll go to school. I'll pick it back up. Oh, I'm a non-traditional student, by the way. I took 5 years off. Which just goes to show, you know, you can take your time. You can take your time and come back and succeed. So I actually haven't been to Glacier or Yellowstone, but I've spent plenty of time up in the Rattlesnake, even further up the Rattlesnake, up into the Bob Marshall, or west of the Bitterroots in the Bitterroot Selway, or the Selway Bitterroot Wilderness. You know, you get out there, you can get out there, you know. Doesn't matter what time of year. If you're prepared, you can go anywhere. Just don't go on the south face, or is it the east face in the wintertime?
Yeah. Well, I think we all share that in common, and we love new people to come and enjoy Montana with us. I think it's a great place to come to. People are super accepting here. I thought Adam did a really nice job of sort of connecting the dots between a few classes that he took. Andy, do you
connecting the dots? Did you still?
Oh, yes. In fact, he specified a minimal path between the classes. But no, I was just wondering if Andy saw the same pattern, Andy, as you kind of entered into your senior year. Did you start to unite different bodies of knowledge and see relationships between the things you'd been taught?
Yeah, definitely. I've also been taking, there's a big data certificate that brings together a lot of math and computer science and business management classes. And there's a lot of theories that come up in kind of different names. Sometimes they'll pull them together, but you see like the same ideas and the same optimization problems showing up in slightly different ways. And it's really nice to feel like you kind of have a good grasp of every area, and you can kind of see the answer coming, and it feels nice. It feels like you're kind of getting the idea.
Yeah, building a nice foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Have you taken a lot of stats classes, Andy?
Yeah, I have a stats concentration, and so I've taken all of the stats classes. They're
all of them.
Yeah, all the ones I can take. I I mean, there's a good amount. It's been pretty fun, but this was my last one this semester, so it's been good stuff.
Can I ask you another question? I think Matt did a good job of starting our presentation by saying, you know, this is a liberal arts school and this is what it means. But I know you're both sort of more on the analytics side with math and computer science, but you had to have taken some of these liberal arts requirements. Did you have one that you really enjoyed? Did you take a painting class, maybe a history class that you really liked? And can you say anything about that?
I actually started college as a political science major.
Mm-hmm.
I got pretty far into that, and I really enjoyed the classes a lot. I think math clicked a little more for me, but they were really helpful and interesting. And it's kind of what got me into statistics was the political polling and the ways I think you can apply a lot of different knowledge in the same areas. And I think for certain professors are really good about pointing you in those directions. Like they notice you really like the stats part of a political science class, so maybe try taking more of those classes and see how it goes. But yeah, I think there's a lot of really valuable classes you can take. I don't know if you feel the same way, Adam.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about outside of the curriculum, which I got all of my gen eds done right off the bat, just to get into the meat of stuff. But the intermediate writing class I took was called Ways of Knowing, and it we read some interesting texts, some older ones too. Short stories, novella type stuff, or literature, mythology. And the whole point was to investigate different epistemological approaches to like how we know things we know, how we perceive the world.
I took Ways of Knowing when I was an undergraduate too, Adam.
Really?
Yeah, and it counted for so many credits. I didn't need any other liberal arts credits. I got like 9 credits out of that thing. It's a good deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, there are definitely plenty of classes where you can double dip in your requirements, so you can spend more time on what you're really interested in.
Okay, so we in the chat room we have a question. Tell us about your experience with bears. Maybe all of us could do that. I've seen them a number of times, both black and grizzly, but more black than grizzly. And in fact, I'll tell you a story. I think I was taking the trash out in the alley one morning and walking around to the front so I could load the trash into the can. And there's this enormous pile of feces. And I just thought, what kind of low-grade cretin walked his dog in my alley and let him poop and didn't clean it up? But then I saw the bear. And then it all made sense, right? That bears don't clean up after themselves, and the city's ordinances need to change to reflect that.
Definitely.
Anyway, that's my bear story. How about you guys? You got bear stories?
I lived in the Rattlesnake for a while, pretty far back, and we had a big sunroom. And I got really into bird feeders one summer. I think I just had a lot of time on my hands, maybe, but I was watching the birds all the time, and I didn't realize that really attracts bears too. So I'd be sitting there reading a book sometimes, and it would be a huge, usually black bears, really close. You would see it like 3-4 feet away from where I was sitting on the other side of the window. But it kind of, I don't know, it was scarier than I thought it would be, but it really gave me a good idea of how big they are. And it was, yeah, cool stuff to see.
I have taken a good number of precautions to never see a bear on the trail, and it has succeeded. I've seen much more moose than I have bear. If you make enough noise, they'll leave you alone.
Yeah, that's my strategy too. We have seen a couple black bears while we're hiking, but yeah, generally we try to make enough noise. And we bring our dog too, and she crashes through the woods, so she's also making a lot of noise. So yeah, we've been lucky enough to never be too spooked by any bears. And moose, we've seen a lot of moose too. And they're just so majestic and incredible. It's hard to remember that they're maybe scarier than bears.
Yeah.
Because they just look so spectacular and so docile. But yeah, so we love seeing moose, but we have to keep in mind that we should be nervous.
And maybe when you see them from a little further away, you don't realize how tall they are. They're huge.
Tall, yeah.
Actually, on that road trip, me and my friends, there's a big lodge right next to a big lake and glacier. And we were getting breakfast there one morning and we saw a moose swimming across the lake, which I didn't really know they could do before that. And they swim really fast for how big they are. It was, yeah, another good reminder of what the wildlife is like.
Andy, I'm glad you brought it back to the road trip. You said that was during your spring break, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was there still snow on the ground or on the highway?
Yeah, actually, in quite a few areas, Montana, I guess you guys know, but it's very like mountains and valleys and mountains and valleys. So it was pretty both half and half. The roads are really well maintained, especially the highways. So it's not too bad. We got pretty lucky, but we saw a bunch of different stuff in a pretty short time.
Yeah, and it sounds like the lake had defrosted a little by then.
Yeah. Still way too cold. I'm not jealous of that.
We have this other question in the chat here. Can you share a memory of a favorite moment with a professor or faculty member?
A favorite? It's hard to pick a favorite. I mean, I've had plenty of times where it's just like, oh yeah, we're both on the same page. You know, there's a new topic in class and I get excited about it. And there have been a number of times in Jesse's class in Oscillations and Waves with Ebo Uchimoto, or Calc 2 with Greg St. George, or even in PDEs with John Bardsley. You know, there have been plenty of times where it's like we're just getting to the really into the really nitty gritties, maybe some proof, and it just clicks and it feels great.
Yeah, I have kind of similar feelings. I feel like office hours are something I really enjoy. It feels like there's always time in them. I have had one-on-one time pretty easily with most of my professors that way, where you just kind of you have time to get onto different topics. Like you start off with a question in class, and you end up like way on something else, math related, or, you know, they're showing you a book or something that they think you'd like. And I really like the smaller moments where you're just kind of talking about random stuff and it makes you, and I just feel very passionate about the subject in a fun way.
One thing I also really like, you reminded me of that when you talked about going off topic, like we're doing now, is I really, really appreciate it when a professor will go into the history of just a little bit. It's like, oh, we're going to talk about a little bit about Gauss. Who was Gauss? You know?
Yeah, Gauss. Actually, I don't know if, sorry if I interrupted you. But I don't know if you've considered it. There's a history of mathematics class in the math department that's really cool for that kind of thing. It's very good about kind of webbing everything together, I guess. And you kind of see how all of these people did talk to each other and how ideas came up. Or there are a lot of very surprisingly dramatic math figures. Lots of tools and, I don't know, early dramatic deaths that are kind of fun to learn about.
Yeah, is that Galois, right? He was this very young, very interesting mathematician who ended up dying in a duel in his 20s. Is that right?
Yeah, I thought you remembered the name. I couldn't remember. He was a revolutionary in France. And he's like a math prodigy by age 8, publishing all these like great proofs. And then, yeah, his outside of math life was also very dramatic and interesting. But
yeah, it's one of these great tragedies. I think the story I've heard is that he spent his last nights sort of like scribbling down a bunch of mathematics because he knew what was going to happen. So it's this inspiring and tragic at the same time. Okay, it looks like we have one more question in the chat, and then I think we're going to go to advisors. So the question is, what is one experience that you recommend every student seeks out during their time in college? Oh, no, wait, here's another one.
The first one first.
What are the students' favorite things about campus? Let's do that one instead. What are the students' favorite things about campus?
I'm going to say 2 because I can't decide. I really enjoy the oval, especially this time of year when you start getting those, 60 and 70 degree days mixed in with the snowy ones. It feels like everyone on campus kind of shows up on the big circle on blankets or sitting on backpacks and jackets and like sitting in the sun, just soaking it up for the first time in a while. And it makes me just very like a strong sense of community feeling. I really like when that starts happening. And then I also really like, I think it's going to be open in the fall. There's a student lounge in the math building where students sit between classes or do homework and stuff. And I've met a lot of my friends in my department that way. Just they're working on something similar, or we're both in a class together and we haven't really talked before, but we work on homework. And it's been one of the most helpful ways to make friends too when I just moved here and stuff.
I really like the fact that the campus is right at the foot of Mount Sentinel. It's right there at the foot of the mountain. It's beautiful. Feels like a special place.
And it's easy to go for a hike right up that mountain. I think I finish my days that way a lot.
Do we have time to field this last question?
Yes, you can do that, and then we'll switch.
The one experience that I recommend everyone seeks out, just like Andy was saying, networking. Meet people. Go hang out at the lounge, at the computer lab, at the library, or stay after class. You know, talk with your classmates. I've got so many people that are in this class with me and also in this class with me, and when they were in that class with me last semester, and they're all across the disciplines. There's a huge network of people that I've managed to connect with all across.
Mine's kind of on a different route, but it sounds kind of cheesy, but I really do think living in the dorms. I lived there for 2 years, and it's just kind of a rite of passage. It's like living in a small room with someone doesn't sound like a fun idea, but it's the kind of bonding and really fun experiences and friends that I don't think I would have made otherwise. And I really think it was super helpful towards making my experience what it has been.
So Adam and Andy and Fred and Jesse are going to stay here with us. If you have additional questions for them, please feel free to use the Q&A section on the bottom of the screen to enter your questions. We're going to have Robin Berg and Rick Anderson turn on their cameras and join us now to talk a little bit about professional advising and what that means in our College of Humanities and Sciences. Thank you, Robin and Rick, for joining us today.
All right, thank you. My name is Rick. Robin, I don't see your face yet, but there you are. So I didn't plan to share my screen. I didn't bring any visual aids. I didn't blow any bubbles. I just thought I'd talk for a while. So what I can tell you is that I'm new to the Advising Center, and also that the Advising Center for Humanities and Sciences is quite new, so within about 3 years or so. So what I see is that this is an opportunity for the college to really professionalize advising so that professors, like the ones you've just heard from, can not have to do some of the technical, mechanical sorts of parts of advising, the parts that might be distracting or frustrating at times, right? But I'd also like to paint a better picture about what we do as academic advisors. What we really are doing is, from the very beginning, introducing you to higher education. So whether it's your very first time on a campus, or whether you're bringing in a few credits or you have some AP credits, or whether you're transferring from another institution, you're new to us, and we want to find a way to sort of bring you into the University of Montana in a really healthy and caring way, but also to connect you in significant ways that are also academic, right? So I loved that Matt started with liberal arts and liberal education, and then I loved even more that the examples that the 4 panelists were just sharing illustrated just how much there is connection across disciplines, how much there's shared interpretations and understandings of the big questions. I mean, I'm a sociologist, I have been for 25 years. And to all of the things that they were thinking, I also would have added some other elements like, yeah, and how does that relate to city planning and community organizing? And what about these issues of inequality? And like, how might all that relate in some way or another? And in advising, that's the kind of conversation I like to start with, the get to know you questions that can help a student become more self-aware. And you can read the excitement and say, yeah, just like a couple of our students were saying, maybe you should try a class over there, or I know the professor for you, or right. And I think we feed off of that excitement, that energy, and we want to channel students into areas that feel appropriate for them. What we're trying to do is help them identify interests, identify abilities, and bring the two together. And in a in a traditional liberal arts setting and with majors. I mean, even sociology is one of those majors that doesn't prepare you for anything specifically, but it prepares you for everything, really. And we want you to be ready for whatever the future brings. We want you to be agile. We want you to be adjusting to a career path that's for sure not going to be straight. It never is. And all of this is part of what I would say is the larger advising conversation. And then Robin can also attest to this, that sometimes we really do have to talk about course scheduling and course selection. But for me, that's just sort of what we have to get to. The more exciting part is the who are you becoming, and how do you want to keep becoming the kind of person that you want to be. I think advising is a lot about it's establishing relationships. So we get to meet with students at the very minimum a couple of times a year, so each semester as it comes around to registration time. But quite honestly, I've already met with people since the calendar turned to 2021. I've met with some of my advisees 5 times already. And sometimes it's a fairly quick question, but sometimes it's like, I need to bounce some ideas off of you. And I think that that's a role we can play that's different than a faculty mentor sort of role and useful, but we're all sort of part of that same team. When I think about the advising relationship, I think about helping students to discern who they are, discern what they want to do. And decision-making doesn't always have to be an all or nothing, right? There's a lot of opportunity to blend. The list of majors and minors and interests and certificates already identified was mighty impressive. And you'll find a lot of students at UM that have a major and 2 minors, a major, another major, and a certificate. I mean, and these kinds of things work nicely then to prepare for all kinds of possibilities in the future. All right, Robin, I've talked breathlessly for several minutes. Would you like to add, correct, suggest other things?
Sure. Well done, Rick. We're really happy to have you on our team, by the way. You've got a great sense of humor. We had a fun birthday party for Rick last week. It's great to see Adam and Andy, 2 of my favorite advisees, and Dr. Johnson and Dr. Peck. Well done. You know, the University of Montana is a fun place to go to school. I went to school at the University of Montana, and I did extensive study in all of the different liberal arts courses, and I had a really good time with that. I graduated with a financial management degree, and then this is after coming back from Europe for 10 years. And then I worked in computer science for 12 years, and I got to know the faculty and work with them, and that was a great experience, and I got to learn a lot about the research side of things and encourage students to go on to the graduate program, which is a lot of fun. And, you know, now I work with computer science, chemistry, biochemistry, and math, and we work really closely with the chairs and the faculty mentors, and we try to connect students with them, and we encourage them because that is one of the best experiences our students can have, is working with the faculty, working with the researchers, and going on to graduate school a lot of times. And sometimes students choose not to do that, and they go out and get great jobs just with a bachelor's degree, but it's really exciting to see the successes that our students have had. And I still keep in touch with a lot of the students. I have students come back years later. I have students who stay in contact with me now. And it's wonderful to see the progress that they've made in their lives and the careers that they've gotten. So it's an exciting time, I think, for computer science and the other degrees that I advise for. There's a lot of success. Yeah.
Thank you, Robin and Rick. If you don't mind, I'd like to add the student ambassadors into this mix and have them give a little talk. And then we'll do a Q&A that includes sort of everybody again. And we can just take turns answering questions as they come up. So Tess and Alex, I'm going to ask you guys to start your videos now. And thanks for joining us. Go ahead and introduce yourselves. And if you have a little something you want to say, please do.
Hi, everyone. My name's Tanessa. I usually go by Tess. I am a geoscience major and an anthropology minor. I am from Patricia, Alberta, Canada, and I don't blame any of you for not knowing where that is. It's got a population of about 80. I originally came to UM because I am on the track and field team here. I am a hammer thrower. It's pretty fun. But before I came here, I came to visit once, and I wasn't sure where I was going before I came to visit. And as soon as I got here, I looked around. I thought, this has to be the place for me. You can't beat the geology here, which is what I'm always thinking about as a geoscience major, of course. And you can't beat the views either.
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Alex. I'm in my second year at UM. I'm a double major in genetics and evolution and microbiology, and I'm part of the Frankie GLI program. If you're looking for me, you could probably find me tucked away in my office at ASUM because I work as a Senate secretary there, and I'm also a part of the Learning Assistant Mentor program here at UM, which is one of my favorite phenomenal experiences here. And I'm originally from Ronan, Montana, but I've been living in the Bitterroot Valley in Florence for almost 3 years now. So, I love what I do, and I'm happy to be here to talk with all of you tonight. Harry, what is GLI? So GLI is a program here at UM that fields students so they can be a part of a leadership experience that will get them ready, for their careers and any other experience that they want to be part of. So it's essentially a program with different stages. So you start with a freshman seminar. There's things like public health, the environment, inequality and culture. You can choose something like that. You pick a theme and you work on a project as a capstone when you are in your fourth year. And a lot of people study abroad as part of the program. I'm personally in the public health theme because I'm interested in microbiology and things of that sort. And it's a really great program here. I mean, a lot of students are involved in it, and it's definitely something that has been a highlight of my time here so far.
Yeah, so I think we're going to talk about a few of our favorite things about UM. So one of my favorite things personally is the small class sizes. When you have a class with few people in it, you can really connect with your professors, you connect with the other students, and you just get a really strong sense of community. Like, for example, this semester, I have 2 classes that have under 10 people in them. And it's really awesome to be able to build that relationship with your professors and with your other students because you all work together and you all get to know one another. And it's so awesome just to be able to have other people that share your interests as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree, Tess. The small class sizes really make those interpersonal experiences what they are here, not only with your peers, but with faculty members. And that's definitely something that's been an integral part of my experience. I'd go off that to say that the interdisciplinary approach that UM has is really the foundation for what a lot of students are looking for, because there are opportunities to take classes outside of your major. Some people end up maybe adding a minor, switching their major, things of that sort. So there's just endless opportunities in terms of what you could do, who you can work with. That's definitely something we found as ambassadors, working with all sorts of students in different fields. So.
Yeah, on your note about interdisciplinary studies, like I ended up adding an anthropology minor because I took one archaeology class and thought, I'm just going to get this done, get it out of the way. I need that requirement. And I ended up taking the class and I loved it. So I felt like I had to add the minor. I loved it so much.
So we have a question in the chat, which says, what 2 words do you think best describe the UM campus atmosphere? And I'm opening that up to anybody who wants to answer. And I'll say, like, Robin, you look like you had a good answer to start. You wanna start, Robin, and then Alex, and then anyone else?
I think the 2 words for me would be, I guess this is more than 2 words, celebration of diversity. The UM campus has always celebrated diversity, and that's something that we emphasize, we train for. We have students from every walk of life, and I think it's such a friendly place to everyone, and that's what's important to me.
Absolutely. I would definitely say welcoming and spontaneous. There are so many opportunities for everyone involved in, anything from politics to science to the humanities. So there's always an opportunity to be had. And I say spontaneous because a lot of my experience at has been getting involved in things that I didn't realize I could be involved with in the first place, but have really made this experience here very unique. So those are two of mine.
I think two words I would use would be, I would use welcoming again, just because that's what I felt when I first came here. Everyone was so nice. Everyone was reaching out to help me if I needed it. And even if I didn't need help, they were just reaching out to say like, hey, how are you? I'm always here if you do ever need help, that kind of thing. And the other word I would use is lively. Like if you're walking around campus, even in a blizzard, you're always going to find people that are out playing Frisbee on the oval, that kind of thing. You're always going to run into someone, and it's always so much fun here.
I've got two words. Secret tunnel. There used to be a whole bunch of, or there still are, I suppose, a bunch of tunnels, utility tunnels underneath all of Missoula. And I think there's one that goes from downtown over to the university. Of course, they closed them all off because of the asbestos insulation on the pipes, but those tunnels are still there.
That's how the Rolling Stones got back to their tour bus.
Oh, did they have to sneak away from the show?
Yeah. Yeah. They were in Washington Grizzly Stadium. It's pretty incredible that they played. It's really quite a small venue actually for them. Yeah.
When was that? That had to have been, what, 30 plus years ago now?
I don't think so.
Really?
No, I think it was less than 10 years ago. I can't remember.
It was about 15 years ago, maybe.
All right, there we go. Pearl Jam plays here too, but they have an in because they're drummers from round here. Or bass player maybe? Is anybody you know? No.
Yeah, bassist.
Thanks, Fred. All right, so I have another question, and maybe Andy, you have to answer this. What is the best dorm on campus, and why?
I stayed in two myself, but I visited a lot of friends. I think there's one dorm that's available for, I think, seniors that are really nice apartments, and I've been in those a few times. And that's probably the best, but I really liked Miller. They have pods, so there'll be like three of you in one pod. You get your own bedroom, but there's still common areas, and you're still on campus and in the middle of everything. And I think that was my favorite. I stayed there for a year, and I met a lot of people, and it was really nice. I was on the ground floor, so there would be people playing Frisbee like right outside my window. And I had a few conversations with people I knew that way. So it was
I've got to agree with you, Andy. I'm living in Miller now, and it's awesome here.
What advice do you have for excelling in classes?
I think my biggest piece of advice is learn how to manage your time. You got to find a way to figure out what you're going to do when you're going to do it. My personal way is I have a big whiteboard that I keep in my room, and I write everything down, when I'm going to do it, what day it's due, and what order I'm going to do it in, so that I make sure I get it done and hand it in.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Tessa. Oh, sorry, Adam.
Okay, let's go Alex, and then Adam, and then Andy.
I totally agree. Test time management is a big deal, but I think for me, I would say asking for help, knowing when to ask, talking to your peers, talking to faculty, talking to advisors. There's always somebody that's not only willing to help you, but will go above and beyond to do so. But just making sure that you're using the resources you have is huge.
Absolutely. I'll reiterate the time management. I mean, I've got my planner right here. I use it every day. You know, I always have homework in it. Always, every week. Go to class and ask questions. There's always, and it can be intimidating. It's intimidating for a lot of people, but it's important to, if you don't understand something, ask, because there's a pretty good chance someone else in your class also doesn't get it. Everyone benefits. And one other thing is definitely, especially notable the past couple of semesters, is having some sort of communication channel with your peers. Like I've got a Discord for all of my classes this semester.
Andy, do you want to answer this one? It looks like you might be frozen.
Yeah.
Okay, but we
Oh yeah, I think my internet might be going off.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think to reiterate what Adam said, going is the first step. I was definitely someone who got to college and very quickly kind of dropped off on the attendance train. And it's really just the best thing if you can start off without missing classes and stay that way. It helps a lot. And then also using your resources. There are so many different tutoring services. I work for StudyJam, but there's a writing center and the math learning center, and there's so many different places where people are happy to help you for free at totally all these different times during the day. And I think it's just an environment you don't get that much help at any other point in your life just surrounding you. And I think taking advantage of it is a really good idea.
Thanks. And then Rick, you wanted to take a shot at this one too?
Yeah, I think I'd go sort of big and philosophical that for most of your lives, probably people have been telling you what you're supposed to do. Like in elementary school, you're getting ready for middle school, and middle school gets you ready for high school, and high school gets you ready for college. Now I think take the reins and direct your own learning. And that might mean you do things that you care about more, so try to find things that you care about. And it might mean that you have to try some things that you didn't like before, like broccoli, but maybe you do now, or something, right? Or you had a really bad experience with one class in high school, and so you don't want to do that. But that was in 10th grade, and it might have been a whole lot of factors not related to whether the discipline is any good or interesting to you. So really, it's a chance for you to take ownership and take a chance, and then make the experience yours. Curricular, co-curricular, extracurricular, all of it, the whole thing. That's what college is all about.
Okay. Well, I'd love to thank those of us who came and participated tonight. I really appreciate all of you. It has been a joy to be here and to watch your enthusiasm for this place, which I also share. And thank you for taking your time on this evening to come and talk to potential students. And thank you to those who came and attended and watched all of our amazing people talk about themselves and their experience here at UM. It's really appreciated. Thank you so much. Good night.